Welcome to the special Memorial Day weekend edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with the Miss Lakimi McGee, which is she. I'm Cindy Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours Shirley on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Akita McGee on the Twitter and Akita's going to be on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, so you can catch up on other live shows that we have airing throughout the week. So you happen to miss them, you can go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, please follow us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, please find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you want to subscribe to our podcast, we know that you've been doing that. For those of you that haven't, please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And speaking of War Media, why don't you go ahead and give them a follow at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, that's at War Media, WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up in the comments section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in your questions and comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and don't do something silly or stupid, I'm giving Lakina full power to give you fools the Jimmy Butler boot.
Bye. That works. That works.
Move it on. But before we continue, we must remind you that Sports Zone Chicago you can catch now is available now on Roku TV. That's right. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku TV, you have a bunch of handheld devices laying around. iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your personal PC like Lakina's using right now, or your Chromebook like I'm using right now. Just go to that Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app. You can access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So once again, no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV.
Anytime, anywhere you want.
And you know we will provide.
Yeah, every time. All right, Sid. Now, of course, we'll have our girl Christine Manika and her fiance Chris Gilman, back with us. Maybe a little bit earlier than 1:30 because of all this stuff that's been going on. We could talk to him. We recap the PGA Championship again, since we get a chance to talk to him about it on Monday. But some breaking news also too from the NFL. We'll get to that in just a second. But we're gonna start first with baseball. We'll start with the local teams first. Of course, a pretty solid week for the local teams. Of course. Excuse me, the Sox won their series against the Guardians. The Cubs won their series against the Mets. We'll start with your White Sox first. And now, unfortunately, they did start a series against Detroit. Unfortunately, they lost the opener. We'll get to that in a second. But, Sid, what do you think about your guys this week?
Of course, Jimmy Lambert did an okay job in that Monday start. Of course, Mike Clevenger is on a 15-day injured list. And the Sox couldn't scratch out a run, but I thought the pitching was outstanding, even though they lost 3-0. But the next two games, the starting pitching was outstanding with Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech, who really did the job on Wednesday, shutting down that Cleveland Guardians lineup. And the offense came through, even though it was a lack of power in terms of the home runs. They were able to scratch some runs across the plate. In particular, Romy Gonzalez, I believe he had 4 RBI in that series. 2 in the last 2 games of that series. So you're starting to see the White Sox starting to come out of it a little bit. Like you said, we'll get to what happened on Thursday in just a moment. But it all starts off with that starting pitching. Lakina, it looks like the defense is starting to improve just a little bit. I still need to see a whole lot more from this team, especially defensively. We all know that the way the White Sox go, especially offensively, the home runs, usually when they hit a bunch of home runs, they usually win the majority of the time. But it all starts and ends with that starting pitching. The bullpen has really picked it up too, and you saw that in that series at Cleveland. And it was important for them to take 2 out of 3.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, look, look, I get it. The White Sox still have a shot to win the division because the division is not very good. We'll get to the rest of the division after the 12:30 hour. But you know what, Kopech looks good. Looked good. I mean, I think he's starting to kind of finally, be that pitcher that a lot of people thought, was expecting him to be, and that's great. But like I said, I need him to keep it up. And I'll tell you, with yesterday's loss, against Detroit, I'll get to that in a second. But okay, yeah, you won 2 out of 3. Yay, good for you. You're still. Look, I know some people are being, meatballish and say, oh, well, if the playoffs started today, like, well, you guys wouldn't be in the playoffs if they started today, okay? So, you're not in not even near the wild card chase. So I think y'all need to kind of chill on that. But okay, fine, you did what you're supposed to. You win against a team that's just a little bit better than you're right even par with. So okay, yippee, ooh, okay, that's nice. All right, cool.
Yeah, shout out to our guy Lamont Scott checking
Lamont.
in via first Facebook. He says, "Do you think that the White Sox pitch is starting to turn the corner?" I think in increments. I think it's starting to turn the corner. They're starting to turn the corner. But despite what happened on Thursday at Detroit with Lucas Giolito giving up a free pass 7 times, that was a personal career high for him. I know Lance Lynn has pitched well over these last 2 weeks. I know he gets to start tonight in Detroit on Apple TV Plus. I want to see more from Lance Lynn. I pretty much buried him a couple of weeks ago. Lakina, I said I was done with him. I told a couple of people outside of here that as well. And since he's turning around, I want to see him do that tonight in the second game in that 4-game series against Detroit. I want to see Dylan Cease pick it up. It looks like he's cut down on his strikeouts, but you notice he's starting to go deeper into games. And even though we love the strikeouts from Mr. Cease, I want to see him save his pitch count and go deeper into games, and that's where we're looking at right now. As far as the bullpen is concerned, hopefully that Liam Hendriks can make his debut hopefully on Monday here at home against the Anaheim Angels. He's going to have another bullpen session within the next couple of days or so. But Aaron Bummer, outside of last night, he's picked it up. Joe Kelly's really picked it up big time. Garrett Crochet, he had a little bit of a setback last night, but he's been good out of the bullpen ever since his return for Tommy John surgery. So he's starting to see signs, but I'm kind of with you. We want to see more. You got to start somewhere, but we want to see more to see if we could be more consistent.
Well, yeah, going back to last night's first game, that 4-gamer against Detroit. I mean, Alex Faedo, I mean, he struck out 10, which is a career high for him. Of course, he would have his best showing against the White Sox. I mean, got his first win of the season because he's been struggling all season long. And it's just like, okay, you kind of fell back and said, see, this is why some White Sox fans are skeptical about this run that the White Sox have been on. They fell into the bad habits. They left guys on base, so they struck out. They were swinging at low pitches and such. So I'm like, oh, okay. So, okay, now that's the White Sox team we know and love. So that's why I'm not there with the whole, like, oh, they're back in and like, no, they haven't. No, they're not. They're not there yet, folks. I'm sorry. And we're kind of getting to like, we're going into June and next week. So it gets even tougher for the White Sox after this series. So you got to at least split your series against Detroit. I know Detroit's actually been pretty solid. I know it says skeptical about Detroit, but that they actually have been.
And rightfully so.
Right. Well, maybe so, but again, look, I mean, you didn't want people to think that the White Sox, can't win, to be able to come back and such. So Detroit actually has a pretty solid team. So I think, let's give Detroit a little bit of credit. I mean, they actually have been okay. I mean, okay. They've actually been, Javier Baez, of course, he had a couple RBIs last night. And then a Cabrera, of course, but I think they've actually had some pretty decent and so yeah, I think let's give Detroit a little bit of credit here. So it's not going to be an easy series. I know some White Sox say, "Oh, it's going to be easy." It's Detroit. Like, no, they've actually been pretty solid lately. So I think people need to kind of give Detroit a little bit of credit. So
that's probably what's going to end up happening, Lakina. Lance Lynn, as I said, starts tonight. You have an open spot tomorrow. It'll probably be Jimmy Lambert again for the first 2 innings, and then it'll be a bullpen session after that. I believe Dylan Cease will pitch Sunday's game. If you have it in front of you, Lakina, please let me know. And I know Michael Kopech will start on Monday on Memorial Day against the Anaheim Angels when the Sox return home. But the matchup should be in your favor. On paper is in your favor if you're the White Sox. So it should be no excuses not to at least take 2 out of the next 3 games in Detroit. I expect them to do that. I'm putting the pressure on them. The offense should come through. Tate Anderson, I know he's been struggling lately. I know he got an RBI last night. I want to see him start to set the table even more for those for the rest of those guys in that lineup. Roman Gonzalez looked good last night. at second base, Lakina. I'm not saying he should be your starting second baseman. I know Elvis Andrews is on a injury assignment right now in Charlotte, but Roman Gonzalez did look good last night defensively. And like I said, he picked it up with his bat in that Cleveland series. Let's see if those supporting guys continue to step up their play.
It'll be Cease versus Eduardo Rodriguez in that Sunday matchup, that rubber matchup.
I was
there.
right.
So, yeah, so you were right. Let's switch gears and talk the North Siders as you're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown with you. And we're going to go up north where the Cubs actually had a pretty solid series, 2 out of 3 against the Mets that have been hot lately. Of course, Christopher Morel continues to go on a tear, becomes he won he hit a couple of home runs in that series against the Mets. The pitching is actually pretty good. Kyle Hendricks made his return. Wasn't great, but you know what? Look, the man hasn't pitched in almost a year, so I think people need to kind of give a little bit of a break there. But the good news is that you won 2 out of 3 from the Mets. Looks like you're starting to kind of get back on track a little bit. I mean, pitcher was actually, Stroman had his, probably his best outing of the season so far on Wednesday. And I think for me, I think people are kind of giving the Cubs team a little bit of a, kind of like the Heisman pose, the hand, to the face, I don't know what the heck you're doing. But look, you had a solid outing from, it's true. I mean, yes, you had a good outing from Drew Smiley on Tuesday. Like I say, I talked about the Stroman outing. Matt Mervis is hitting the ball pretty well. Those have been pretty good. Even though, Pete Alonso's actually been putting on a tear lately, but it wasn't enough for the Mets, so they were able to kind of, tame that. But he hit a couple of home runs there too. But if you're the Cubs, you gotta be feeling pretty good where you're at right now.
Yes, as we said on our last few shows, as long as you put up 4 or 5 runs, if you're the Cubs, your pitching has been outstanding this year. Your starting pitching, anyway, has been outstanding. As long as you put up between 4, 6, 7 runs, this Cubs team should be able to win the majority of the time. The problem has been is their bullpen. Outside of last night, you didn't see them that much in this series. It looks like maybe Mark Leiter Jr. should be your closer for the time being, Lakina. I think that issue should be settled for right now. I'll leave it at that. But going back to Wednesday's game with Marcus Stroman, I think he's only I'm not going to say he should be your only Cubs all-star representative, maybe one other person, a couple other people, but he should be at the top of the list to represent the Cubs at the all-star game in July in Seattle. But we have a long way to go with that. But Stroman has been consistent this year at that top of the rotation. Justin Steele, who's going to pitch today as they open up their weekend series against the Cincinnati Reds. In his pitches, I'm talking about Justin Steele, his starts in the daytime. He has a 1.19 ERA, so he's been pretty good. You talk about Drew Smiley, he's been doing okay as a fourth starter. So, like you said, Kyle Hendricks, he hasn't pitched in almost a year. His struggles the last couple of years because he's been injured. If people thought he was going to turn into Cy Young last night, you were crazy. So it's going to take Kyle Hendricks time to get back into that fold where he was 4 or 5 years ago. So he's an older pitcher, and he just needs some time to get his win back. Now, offensively, Patrick Wisdom, he's been good, but let's see if he can pick it up. You mentioned Christopher Morel, 9 home runs in the month of May in 12 games. We mentioned he's been the lightning rod in that Cubs offense. Seiya Suzuki has picked it up as well. And so, like I said, Matt Mervis, a.k.a. Mash Mervis, he hit his first regular field home run in that series against the Mets. So it looks like this Cubs team is finally starting to come through. I know they're 5 games under 500, but they better be careful with this weekend because Cincinnati, they're no pushovers. I know they're not one of the best teams in baseball, but their record is not what you think it should be around this time. So the Cubs still had to continue that momentum against a divisional opponent this weekend.
Right, and also too, Pete Alonso just hit a 19th home run. Actually, like I said, he had 2 home runs in this series, and including a 19 was the major league lead. So, but still, still a solid week for the Cubs. So I think you'll gotta be feeling pretty good where you're at, especially with the stands. We'll talk about that after this break. We're gonna talk, even more baseball. We'll talk about the rest of the league, including I guess Aaron Boone is not a big fan of staying in games long. Apparently, not a fan, I guess. But the games have been going quickly, but it's a little bit weird. But also too, Francisco Alvarez, had a solid week this week. And some other stuff too coming up next. We'll talk the rest of major leagues. Coming up after this break, Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports, Sports on Chicago. More baseball talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized. These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Sorry. Welcome back to Second City Sports' Memorial Day Holiday Weekend Edition. We're live and live in color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80 on Twitter and Instagram.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You want to hit us up in the comments section. You can do so, excuse me, by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. Before we move on, Lakina, buddy Lamont Scott checked in with a question before the break where I'd like to answer it now. Do you think if the Cubs hang around, they should make a bullpen move to make a run? We said this on the last couple of shows, looking at if the Cubs do hang around, I think Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins will make a move for a bullpen. Who that will be, we don't know. But you can see so far this year, Lakina, enough offense along with that great starting pitching will keep you in games, and you should be able to win most of them. And that's what's going on with this Cubs team right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're the Cubs, you gotta be feeling pretty good if you're in that spot. So I think it's definitely could I see maybe Jed Hoyer and Connor Hawkins making a move or getting a bullpen arm. Yeah, because I think they're sort of like they want, especially they want to compete for the division. They're still right there within striking distance. So I think, yeah, if they're still like right there, in, either in the division or if any of the wild card spots, I think that it's still wide open. They're 4.5 back in the Central, and I think they're just a couple of games after that back in the wild card. So yeah, I think definitely they should definitely make a move if that's the case. So we'll see what happens with that now. As for the rest of the week, and the rest of the week in baseball, now the Yankees look they're starting to kind of get together a little bit. They well, I mean, maybe not. I mean, they lose 2 out of 3 to Baltimore, and I guess what Aaron Boone got tossed again. So I'm like, okay, what is going on? What is going on here? But like what do you think about the Yankees? Of course, we'll get to Baltimore in a second because Kyle Gibson, pitched a he only allowed 2 hits over the 7 scoreless innings for the Orioles. We'll talk about them in a second. But what do you think about the Yankees this week in this series against Baltimore? Because Baltimore, look, we've talked about Baltimore the last few weeks, and they're proven to kind of like we'll see if they'll still be around. But we talk about Cedric Mullins, we talk about Kyle Gibson, and they got a lot of great young players. What do you think about that series?
I'll give them a couple of claps because remember, Lakina, my concern was for them last year, and so far this year has been their starting pitcher. You mentioned Kyle Gibson; he did a heck of a job last night. I know he gave up 4 walks, but he struck out 3. Tyler Wells had a tremendous performance in that game on Wednesday. Even though he pitched 5 innings, he struck out 5, and Baltimore found a way to win the ball game. You talk about supporting players like Anthony Santander, even though it's Santander, but and also Adam Frazier, who I think he should be on the White Sox right now. Is their starting second baseman, but that's neither here or there. But he had a big 3-run home run to clinch that win in the second game in that series against the Yankees. So Baltimore, even though they lost a tough 1 in 10 innings to open up their series on Tuesday, they didn't back down from the Yankees. And for a team that's trying to get to the next level, you need to beat your teams in your own division. And beating teams like the Yankees in Yankee Stadium will go a long way. So shout out to Baltimore. They got great starting pitching these last 2 games, and they have enough offense. And that's why they won their series at Yankee Stadium. Now, as far as Aaron Boone's concerned, I know he got tossed last night. I forgot the home plate umpire's name, but he was calling low pitches strikes and was way out the zone for both teams. So I don't blame Aaron Boone one bit.
Yeah, that's been a problem with some of these umpires this season. Like low pitches and high pitches, like it's just like where's the consistency in that? I know some people have been lobbying for for the last decade, like robot umpires, but I think I don't know. Like I think this season's been an indicator that maybe
Edwin Moscoso was a home plate umpire last night.
Okay, so yeah, I guess, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this because I feel like the whole robot umpires they're lobbying for it has been louder lately. So like he doesn't and I don't blame Boo for being miffed about that, but it is what it is with so you're not gonna win those battles. So but the Rays stay in that division. The Rays went 3 out of 4 against Toronto. Oh boy. Well, and the crazy, the 20-1 one. I mean, that one was just like really, just no effort for the Blue Jays. Like you wonder like what the heck's going on there. I know they had a team meeting, I guess, yesterday. It didn't work because they still lost. They lost 6-4. They didn't do any good, but
the Sox had one too, but I guess it's kind of working. I don't know.
maybe I guess maybe, but yeah, we'll talk about Toronto.
It doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah, Toronto's been one of the more disappointing teams. But yeah, I mean, look, the Rays have been on that tear. They got the best record at home, so. Like they're starting to kind of. You thought that maybe losing that series against the Yankees would kind of slow them down a little bit. That they're staying afloat in first in the AL East.
Yeah, speaking of Toronto and that 20-1 route the other day, did you hear this story, Lakina? Outfielder Luke Raley, he pitched in comedy relief for Tampa.
Yeah,
he struck out Vladimir Guerrero.
Yes,
he got Vlad Jr. to sign his ball after the game.
Wasn't that sweet? Wasn't that nice? Wasn't that nice of you? That was like
I know, right?
I think they took a picture. I think
no cap, as the kids would say, folks. No cap. He actually got Vlad Jr. to sign his baseball for striking him out.
Yeah, I think they took a picture too after the game.
Yes,
think. But Yeah, but yeah, I mean that was probably one of the few bright spots from that. But yeah, like I said, Toronto's been like very disappointing for me this
Mhm.
season, and I don't know I don't know if they're gonna make a managerial change, but they did it last year, so like I don't know, maybe they need a new voice. I don't know, like they need something in Toronto because they're losing ground in the AL, all the AL, not just in the East, but all of the AL, that wild card. So they need to get it together.
Yep, I'm staying with going to the NL East now, and we'll get to what this team did last night in a few minutes. But the Los Angeles Dodgers looks like they're starting to catch fire. They take 2 out of 3 from the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. And also, too, staying in the NL East, NL West, I should say, the San Francisco Giants, they take 2 out of 3 at Minnesota against the Twins. And I know the Giants won last night as they started their 4-game series against the Milwaukee Brewers, winning on the road. So they won 3 out of their last 4 games. I'm talking about San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Yeah, San Fran. Yeah, I mean, San Fran, they're starting to kind of figure it out a little bit. I know that they got solid pitching, so I think that's been keeping them afloat in some of these games. And look, their hit's been pretty solid too. I mean, Michael Conforto. I mean, we know how good he is. He went 4 for 4 in that game.
He should
in
be
that
on the
shutout.
Sox, but that's a whole other issue.
I know. Because they were buzzed by him going to the Sox, but going to San Fran. But yeah, he went 4 for 4 with a home run and such. So yeah, I mean, it was just, and they used, I know Gabe Kapler likes using pitchers, so he used 6 in that, but I think you kind of want to keep your guys rested. But look, they've been playing pretty well lately, San Fran. So I think they're starting to show that maybe last year was not a fluke. So we'll see what happens now. Seattle, I know it was Oakland, but they swept them, so that's what you're supposed to do. I think there was like 5 people over there in Oakland. Like, are you freaking kidding me? And things like their worst start, I guess, is before they even moved to Oakland. So yeah, they can't go to Vegas quick enough there, but
you think?
Yeah, that's understandable. But yeah, it's just not a good yeah, just terrible. You feel for that organization. I know they got rid of Glenn Keeler, of course,
Glenn Kuiper, yeah.
of course. And Kuiper, yeah, sorry about that. Thank you. Yeah, after that whole thing in Kansas City, we won't rehash it, but yeah, he should have been fired. But yeah, going back to this, I mean, yeah, like San Fran, get it going. It was like the Dodgers. That was very impressive. I saw a couple of those games against Atlanta, and I know they lost the run match, so that kept them from getting swept. But they totally dominated those first 2, and I think they're starting to kind of find their groove a little bit. I think all those guys that have been, like all the new guys. Because remember, they had a lot of guys that were on paternity leave, so that kind of messed them around with the lineups, but. They've been pretty solid lately too. So everybody's healthy and stuff. So they might go on a little bit of a tear here. I'm not saying that because they got a tough one. We'll talk about the rest of the series coming this week. They got a good one, which could be a World Series preview. We'll see. But yeah. But I like the way the Dodgers have been playing right now as usual.
Sticking with the NL East, how about the Arizona Diamondbacks? I know they lost their last game on Wednesday in extra innings in heartbreaking fashion against the Phillies, but the Arizona Diamondbacks at 29-22 now. Do we start to take them seriously?
Give me until the end of June. If by June, because they got a tough series coming up. We'll get to that in a second. But if they're still like right there, like in the NL West, right there in the striking, or at the very least in the wild card spots, maybe. But like right now, I mean, yeah, they won 2 out of 3 against the Phillies and such. They won 2 out of 3 against Pittsburgh prior to that on the road. They come back home, so they had a solid road trip. So I think this is more like because of scheduling. I think maybe that's probably why, because we know the Phillies have not been. They've been up and down. Pittsburgh starting to fall back to earth a little bit. So yeah, I'm not there yet, but we'll see. I mean, ask me again by the end of the month. Next month, I mean.
And what about the San Diego Padres? I know they've been struggling to start the year, but even though they found it hard to not do or do, it depends on how you look at it. They take 2 out of 3 in our nation's capital against the Nationals.
I mean, it's what you're supposed to do, right? I mean, it would have been nice if they had swept. They had a couple of chances in that second game, but they weren't able to pull. They did win the rubber match, to that thanks to Rania Odor's 3-run home run. But yeah, I mean, look, yeah, I mean, they spent a lot of money. Talking about the Padres have, and unfortunately, it has been working for them so far. I know Tatis Jr. is back, but he's slowly starting to find his groove a little bit. So. We'll see. I mean, you thought maybe the managerial change would probably help a little bit. It hasn't. So. I don't know what else can you do with San Diego. Hopefully it can turn around. I mean, they got a little bit of time, but we're kind of we're almost about like 50 some games in some cases. So I think you can't really use it as an excuse anymore. So we'll see.
Yeah, now let's go to the AL West. The Anaheim Angels, and they sweep the Boston Red Sox. I had my 2 cents about the Boston Red Sox, but the Angels looks like they're not going to go away, at least as of right now.
Yeah, I mean, look at they look. I mean, we know Ohtani. He's been pitching and hitting the ball well and whatnot. So yeah, I think look, it's going to be interesting with them. But can they keep it up? Sure. I mean, I think if they don't, you got to think that with all the rumors about Ohtani coming up, I mean, I think you gotta wonder, like, are they going to think about perhaps maybe being buyers or sellers in the trade deadline? So some people wonder, like, could they do they need to make the playoffs to keep them? Who knows? But we'll see. I mean, look, I think Ohtani and Trout have actually been playing pretty well. They've been kind of putting this team on their backs. So we'll see if they can keep it up. But yeah, I think they're right now. They look pretty good, and Trout's healthy, so knock on wood for the continued good health for him.
Yeah, shout out to our guy Brendan Schutz. How are you doing, Brendan? Brendan, hope you're having a good holiday weekend. We'll get to the MLB schedule in just a moment. And speaking of your Astros, Brendan, they lose 2 out of 3 to Milwaukee, and wrapping up the AL West. The Texas Rangers, they win 2 out of 3 in Pittsburgh against the Pirates. They have a good weekend series coming up, which we'll get into in just a moment. So, Lakina, I know the other day Jose Altuve, who made his return to the lineup on Friday, making his season debut after having wrist surgery from being injured and back in March in the World Baseball Classic. He had to leave the game the other day with sickness. I think it's a day-to-day situation. Hopefully he'll return soon if you're an Astros fan. But I don't think you still should be worried too much about the Houston Astros. They're right there for the division lead next to the Texas Rangers. I don't think the Rangers are going to go away anytime soon. They take care of the opponents that they have to take care of. They're facing on their schedule right now.
Yeah, I think that's what you're supposed to do, especially if you're in that part of the schedule. Look, you're gonna have it's the ebb and flows of the long season, especially with everyone gonna be playing each other this year. So you're gonna be playing teams that you're not used to playing. So that's gonna be another team to adjust. So we'll see what happens. I think every team's gonna go through like the highs and lows, the ebbs and flows of the season. So I think the Astros are no different. I think they're starting to kind of get together a little bit. I know Altuve's back, so that should help a lot. Brendan. But I think too that you kind of have to be a little bit consistent too. And they have not been. Alvarez can only do so much by himself. I think everyone else has to step up. So having Altuve back can definitely help him out. I think that could definitely help a lot. So we'll see what happens. But it should be interesting.
Yeah, going back to the NL Central, are you starting to believe in the St. Louis Cardinals? They take 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati.
Well, in Cincinnati. So okay, look, you're supposed to win a series against Cincinnati. I mean, look, I think. Look, I don't know what else to say about them, but yeah, I mean, look, I think it's gonna be interesting, like if they do decide to, if they do, kind of be up there, because like I said, no one's gonna pull away from that the NL Central. So I think if you are gonna, look, this is the time to get going. We'll see. Look, they got a pretty interesting series coming up for them this weekend, so we'll see. But yeah, it's gonna be. We'll see if they can keep it up. That's all I will say. I'm not there yet because I think they lost in that match last night to Cincinnati. But yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see.
Before we get to the schedule, shout out to the Atlanta Braves organization. I know they should have done this a long time ago, but they opened up their 4-game series last night against their division rival, the National League defending champion Philadelphia Phillies. And they had it was Outkast night, the world famous hip hop group from the 90s, and they had an Andre 3000 and Big Boy bobblehead night. Only 15,000 lucky fans got a chance to receive those last night before last night's game. Of course, Big Boy was there last night. No side of Andre 3000. He doesn't like the spotlight that much.
Right.
But Big Boy was there last night at the game in Atlanta at Truist Park. He threw out the first pitch. I don't know you got a chance to catch the broadcast. Looking, I know nationally it was on MLB Network. I don't know if you had a chance to visit with those guys, but I had a chance to watch the Braves broadcast at Bally Sports Southeast. And of course, former Chicago baseball reporter Kelly Crow, she does great work down there for Atlanta now. But she was part of the broadcast last night. Not Andre. Big Boy was in the booth last night with Brandon Gaudin, the new TV voice, and Jeff Rancourt. And he was talking about how he grew up in Atlanta. Him and Andre 3000 met when they were in high school. Of course, you remember they came out in '94. During that time, Biggie was popular, Tupac, and this is before Master P and some of the other Juvenile and that whole Cash Money crew took over from the South towards the end of the 90s. And they were talking about how they had their love for music. And Big Boy is pretty much a big sports aficionado as well. So he can get up on some sports commentary if he really wanted to. But he was very relaxed and chill last night. He mentioned that he was hanging out with his whole family. And you could tell that with the Braves camera people paying out to the crowd, it was a whole lot of love for Outkast last night. So shout out to the Braves organization for honoring that hip hop group, because that group representing Atlanta. And Big Boy doing the interview in the third inning gave love to Babyface and L.A. Reid, who produced their first few albums. And I thought it was just a great classy move by the Braves organization last night. I know it should have been done a long time ago, according to some people, but I'm glad that this Braves organization finally got it done last night, honoring Outkast with their bobblehead last night. If you want one, go to eBay and test your luck there.
Yeah, I think those days are sold out. I think, but yeah, look, I saw a little bit. I saw the clips of it. I wish Andre 3000 would have been there just to kind of like, I know he does not a big fan of the spotlight, but he probably could have just made at least a little bit of the first pitch. If he didn't want to do the interview, afterwards on MLB Network, you didn't have to do that. So Big Boy. But yeah, I know Big Boy's a big sports fan. I know his son. His oldest son, I think, I think he's still playing at Oregon. I know he's a wide receiver there, but yeah, I think it's sort of like, look, this is sort of like a big, like Outkast probably one like the top, not just rap groups, for like all the musicians of all time. So I think, look, I'm glad they finally gave them their due, because look, I know Big Boy is a big Braves fan, so I'm glad they finally, gave him the opportunity to, the first pitch and such in that game. Yes, I guess the first that 4-gamer against the Phillies. But yeah, I mean, look, I think this is going to be and like I said, if you guys didn't watch it, there are clips all over social media. So I think that's a really, and they actually won too, which, it actually was a pretty exciting game last night. Of course, they won it at 8-5 over the Phillies in that first game, that 4-gamer. So yeah, I think it was fun. It was, it was cool. And look, it was great that they honored one of their top, entertainers from that area.
Yep, and shout out to Austin Riley too. He had 2 home runs in that game last night, so which helped the Braves win that game. Now, Lakina, to the schedule for this weekend's games around the Major League Baseball circuit. Of course, we'll start out with the White Sox and the Tigers. That's tonight at 5:40 p.m. Central Standard Time. That game can be seen on Apple TV Plus. So those of you that have Apple TV Plus, you can watch that game live. Everybody else who has MLB extra innings like yours truly, you get to watch that game 90 minutes after its air. Continuing with the rest of the schedule, the Chicago Cubs are getting ready to host the Cincinnati Reds in that first game of that 3-weekend series from Wrigley at 1:20. Of course, tonight, as Lakina mentioned, the Los Angeles Dodgers will travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Rays at 5:40. The second game of the Apple TV Plus regional coverage will have the San Diego Padres visiting Yankee Stadium to take on the New York Yankees, the rematch of the 9-0 series. Ha, ha, ha. The rest of the schedule for tonight and for the weekend are as follows. The Texas Rangers will visit the Baltimore Orioles. That's going to be a sneaky good one, folks. Maybe a possible playoff preview. You heard it here first. Of course, the Cardinals will visit Cleveland to take on the Guardians. Of course, the Phillies and the Braves will continue their series this weekend, along with the San Francisco Giants and the Milwaukee Brewers. The Blue Jays and the Minnesota Twins, this should be a good one this weekend from Target Field. The Washington Nationals will visit Kansas City. The New York Mets will go to Colorado. The Miami Marlins will take on the Anaheim Angels. The Astros and the Oakland A's will do battle. The Red Sox and the Diamondbacks, and the Pirates against Lakina, Seattle Mariners. They'll round out this weekend schedule. Your national TV schedule looks like this.
Let me say something for me. Jeez, you're on and on.
Okay. All right, go ahead, young lady.
Yeah, come on now. Let's say something for me. The national stuff you got on FS1, of course. The third game of that Phillies Braves series at 3:10 on FS1. You got a 3-part regional coverage at 6:15 tomorrow night on the Big Fox Network. You got Boston, Arizona. Those here in Chicago will watch the Reds and the Cubs. Also,
not me.
ha. Okay, yeah. Well, they play at noon. Your Sox and Tigers play at noon, so you can't really avoid that. Also, to St. Louis and Cleveland, that should be a fun one. All three of those games are a part of the regional action on Fox. And Peacock, this game's featuring on Peacock. The last game of the Dodgers Rays series at 10:35. That's gonna be on Peacock. Stream it there, folks. And of course, Sunday Night Baseball is gonna be on ESPN too because of playoff obligation. Well, I think some other stuff too is happening. Philadelphia and Atlanta. The last game of that series will be at 6:00 on ESPN2. Remember, and while Pittsburgh and Seattle, the last game of that series will be on ESPN Plus. And Monday, since we won't be here, we'll do the rest of this week's series for next week. For part of next week, since we won't be on Monday.
Okay. For Monday's schedule for Memorial Day, it looks like this if it could ever load up here. The Al Gore's internet, folks. The Angels will take on the Chicago White Sox. There's your Memorial Day game on FS1. That's at 7:00 Chicago time. The rest of the Memorial Day schedule looks like this: Cleveland at Baltimore, Texas at Detroit, Kansas City at St. Louis, the rematch of the '85 World Series. Go figure. Tampa Bay will come to Chicago to take on the Cubs. Colorado will visit Arizona. Minnesota will go to Houston to face the Astros. Pirates and the Giants, the Braves at Oakland, Washington at the Dodgers, and then, of course, the Yankees will visit the La Quina Seattle Mariners.
All right, as we go through this week, you got San Diego and the Marlins. That could be like a sneaky good series there. The Marlins have been actually pretty solid lately. They got Ryan Weathers against Sandy Alcantara in that first game, so that should be a fun one coming up on Tuesday. Of course, you got the Angels and the White Sox starting that series. You get I think you won't get Ohtani though. I think you'll just miss Ohtani. Sid, I think so.
Yeah, we'll see him at the plate though. Plenty of time.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm about to say, yeah, that might be, no, that's a good or a bad thing, but yeah, Atlanta, Oakland, they start. Okay, Pittsburgh and the Giants, the Pirates and the Giants, they start their series, and the Nationals start their road trip as they continue their series against the Dodgers. I'm trying to see like what else. Phillies and the Mets. Yeah, Phillies and the Mets. That should be a fun series. In the NL East, I got to make sure. Minnesota, Houston. We already did that one. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I think that's all of it for. Yeah,
two more series real quick. Yeah, two more series real quick. Cincinnati will visit for this is the series starting on Tuesday. Cincinnati will visit Boston's Fenway Park to take on the Red Sox, and Milwaukee will travel north of the border to Toronto to face the Blue Jays.
That should be. Well, we'll see if Toronto can kind of get things going here again. So we have still got a couple more minutes left. So what else do you want to talk about?
Okay, all right. Interesting article I found in the Athletic this morning. If you haven't subscribed to the Athletic, please do so. It's really worth your money. You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. La Quina here, hanging out with you on your Memorial Day holiday weekend. And this comes to us from former ESPNer Jason Stark. And his article reads as follows. The headline, anyway: Stark's Baseball Hall of Fame tears. Which active players are on track for Cooperstown right now? I won't go through the whole article, but I thought he, excuse me, I thought he brought up some interesting names that you should consider in the Hall of Fame right now. These are no brainers. Mike Trout, Justin Verlander, Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, Miguel Cabrera, who's in his last year playing in the major leagues for Detroit, Zach Greinke, and Joey Votto.
Okay, I can kind of see that. Yeah.
Now in the red zone, he has Freddie Freeman, Paul Goldschmidt, Bryce Harper, Nolan Arenado, the third baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals, Mookie Betts, and Manny Machado.
I can see Freeman and Machado. No, or not. No.
I don't know about Manny Machado. I know he's been there for a decade, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think. I think Freeman might be the only one out of that group. I think. And
on the path for this list, he has Shohei Ohtani, which I think is a no-brainer. Aaron Judge, Jose Altuve, Garrett Cole, Juan Soto, and Ronald Acuna Jr.
Altuve maybe, but with all the stuff with the Astros, that might be up there. There were some voters might have a problem with that. Acuna, maybe that's a border. I think that last year I said were probably borderline. So I think
Okay.
it's a little early to be having. Yeah, it's a little early to be having these kinds of discussions because they're all still playing, and most are still playing at a pretty high level. They might even add their stats, so it might be kind of tough to make a synopsis of that stuff right now.
Yeah, and then he has a couple other special categories. I wish there was a path. Get back to me in 5 years. Used to be in the red zone in case not close. So those are some interesting things that Jason Stargo, the Athletic, brought up. Of course, he did some great work a long time for ESPN. He does great work for the Athletic. He's definitely one of the great baseball writers and baseball minds that we have in our industry. So if you have the Athletic, please go check out the article talking about the current players that are on track, in his opinion, to go to the Hall of Fame right now. It's like, this is pretty much an interesting list. And I was like, let's discuss this with Lakina and the people out there.
All right. Well, yeah. I think I think they're also writing their accomplishments. So I think it's a little bit early to say that. But I think a couple are on track. But I think guys may have to do a little bit better to beef up their resume. So the first hour of the books, hour number 2 straight ahead. Of course, we got one half of both the NBA and Stanley Cup Final. Have been could accept their ticket. Also, too, we might see some stuff, but we'll see what happens with that. With at least one of those series that's still remaining. Of course, the Stars extended their season last night. And then also to a veteran wide receiver, of course, just came across a little over an hour ago. He's back. He's on the market. Could the Bears perhaps make a player for him? We'll see. Also to our buddies, Christine Manika from KXRB, and of course her hubby-to-be golfer Chris Gilman will be back with us. He'll talk about the latest sports topics and such. So yeah, lots to do. Still some fun coming up. More fun coming up, I should say. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports, on Sports of Chicago. We talk playoffs right after this.
Playoffs?
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean,
Do you know that you're in my lane?
No, not at all.
Are you not paying attention? Are you texting?
I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6.
It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention.
I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of this special edition of Second City Sports, your Memorial Day holiday weekend edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am City Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow Makita McGee on the Twitter and account's coming in the IG.
We have less than an hour left to go for this program for this weekend. We're going to make it a good one, as we always will. Just a reminder, we will not be here on Monday because of the Memorial Day holiday. Remember, folks, the true meaning of this holiday is to celebrate our veterans, both men and women, who made the greatest sacrifice in fighting for our country, the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. We have less than 55 minutes left or so. This extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you want to hit us up in the comment section, like you few of you have done so far, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV.
All right, Sid. So let's get back into let's go into some playoff hoops.
Playoffs.
We're gonna talk about the NBA. Of course, we'll talk about Denver clinching their first ever trip to the finals, NBA finals spot earlier this week. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's talk about Game 5, Game 4, Game 5. I should say. Oh Jesus, I'm of course, Gabe Vincent didn't play for the Heat. Now the Celtics, were taking advantage of that. They also took advantage of some hot shooting from Jason Tatum and Derek White, and of course Robert Williams and Grant Williams, no relation. Took advantage 110-97 over the Heat in Game 5, extending it. I mean, it's just I don't know what to say about this city because they shot 16 for 39 for 3-point range. We'll talk about the Celtics, and they really didn't look back. Tatum had 21. Like I said, Marcus Smart had 23. He hit some big 3-pointers. Derek White had a playoff high for him, 24. 21 for Jaylen Brown. It was just all out like dominant shooting performance by them. And the Heat, unfortunately, Jimmy Butler had 14. Bam only had 16. They had a nice show from guys off the bench. Duncan Robinson he had 8. No, he had 18 because he actually led the scores. They also to Haywood Highsmith. I know that's the name that a lot of people don't know. He played for I think he's a D3 guy from Wayland Jesuit. He had 16 points off the bench, so kind of getting relief of Vincent, but it was all Celtics, and I'm hoping that he's able to. I'm talking about Vincent will be able to play tomorrow because they're really going to need him, and I'm just flabbergasted by this.
Yeah, we talked about this on Monday, Lakina, on our last show. The Celtics just almost flat out quit. Was it the coaching? Was it just Miami being that damn good? And what was going on there? But the last 2 games, Lakina, this is just as simple. It was about pride check for Boston in Game 4. You saw Jason Tatum actually score his first points in the fourth quarter in Game 4 of that series. Last night in Game 5, the Celtics built that off that momentum. They kept it up. Of course, them being at home gave them an edge as well. And Miami didn't know what to do. Boston's defense actually turned up and turned over Miami 16 times, forcing the Heat with 16 turnovers. And also, too, with the assists, they shared the ball very well for the first time, in my opinion, this series. They had a +3 advantage in the assist department, 23-20. And also, too, with the steals, they doubled Miami in that department, 13-6. So Boston's defense actually stepped up. Jaylen Brown had a consistent game. Jason Tatum, it all starts with him. And he has shown up in these last 2 games. The question is, can he keep it up for the rest of the series? But right now, they had to worry about Game 6 on Saturday night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to be sort of like the thing here. As far as on the flip side for the Heat, I mean, they were 9 for 23 from 3. That's not going to do it for you. They just weren't hitting their shots and stuff. I know Butler had his struggles. Bam had his struggles. Kyle Lowry. I mean, if only we had to get the Kyle Lowry from Toronto, maybe they would have had a shot. But it seems like Spo may have to adjust that lineup a little bit. He only had 5 points. Max Truss, he had his struggles. He was only 1 for 5 and 1 for 4. He only had 3. So that's not going to do it for you for trying to clinch a series. The pressure's all back on Miami now. Like, the Boston won their first 2. They're back in it now. You're going home. That place in Miami is going to be rocking. Don't make your people leave early. I think the key for tomorrow night is that. Well, you know how it is, because you know how it is in the playoff games and such, because you saw what happened a couple years ago. They were, but yeah, I mean, look, if you're Butler, Bam, you're gonna have to set the tone early, and I think for Game 6, that's what you got to do, especially if the hot shooting continues from Boston. I don't think Derek White, no shade, because I loved him when he was at Arizona, but he's not going to score 24 points again. He's not, and I think that this is going to be interesting to see, like, what the Heat, especially if Gabe Vincent still can't play tomorrow with that ankle, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to have to step up. Will Struss, he needs to step up a little bit more. Duncan Robinson needs to step up with a little bit more. Caleb Martin had a solid showing, 14 points. He's going to have to keep it up too. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, what's going to be the mindset, because they got to hit the reset button if you're Miami.
Yeah, our buddy Lamont Scott checked in once again via Facebook. He said the Heat better win Game 6 because Boston is the better team and will take Game 7. And I know this doesn't matter right now, but Miami did win in Boston, as you mentioned, the first 2 games of the series. I know they failed at it last night, but should Boston win tomorrow? And like I said, I agree with Lamont. If Boston wins tomorrow night, they have all the momentum going to Game 7 at home. Yes, Miami has an edge because they won the first 2 games there, but you saw what happened last night. They got destroyed there, and they didn't know what happened. So like, as you said, Miami better take care of business at home tomorrow, because if they don't, I think it's going to do more damage to them psychologically. As you mentioned now, with Gabe Vincent's injury starting to pile up on them as well.
Like the Derek White went to Colorado. I got to correct myself there. Yeah, I remember he was at Colorado. He was all big Pac-12, I should say. So I want to clean that up a little bit. But yeah, he's not gonna score 24 points. Again, he's not. And if you're, like I said, if you're Miami, you better try to get a jump on them early. Butler's gonna have to set Butler and Bam are gonna both have to set the tone. Struss, you're gonna have to step up and hit some couple of big shots, like Robinson. As long as they're doing their thing. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully Gabe Vincent will be able to play tomorrow, because you don't want the Celtics to win Game 6. You don't want to do it. So look, you still got an advantage. You get to go home. That place is gonna be rocking. If you're the Heat, you better. I suppose good at this. He's pretty good at this whole thing. He's got a couple of rings. So yeah, it's like, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I think I know the Heat. I know the NBA is going to want to have a Game 7, but if you're the Heat, you better try to win tomorrow so you get a little bit of rest going into the finals next Thursday. But yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Shout out to our guy Brandon Schutz in the comments again. He's basically echoing the same thing. He said he wants Miami for a Game 7. That means if a Game 7 happens, it'll be on Memorial Day night or Mondays. You're wrapping up your holiday weekend, your barbecue and things along that line. But Lakina, what did we talk about as my keys to the series before the series began? Points in the paint and offensive rebounding. Of course, Miami has dominating that department last night, but most of those points came in garbage time. But Boston had a +2 edge in offensive rebounds last night with 12-10. You've seen Al Horford. He's starting to improve his outside shooting a little bit, but he's banging the boards. And on the flip side for Miami, Cody Zeller must step up again, because Bam Adebayo has his hands full right now with Al Horford and Grant Williams. And you definitely do not want to see Udonis Haslem outside of him going out with a championship ring and retirement. But you don't want to see Udonis Haslem playing. So Cody Zeller needs to step up a little bit more. So for Miami, they got to get tougher on the boards. And for Boston, like you said, can they keep this up? I'm not sure, but Miami better get off to a hot start tomorrow night, I should say, in front of their home fans, because if not, it's going to get ugly.
Yeah, it's gonna get ugly real quick. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. Now on the flip side, there'll be whoever wins, whether it's the Celtics or the Heat, they'll be playing Denver. Denver clinches their first ever trip to the finals for the first time in their franchise history. I mean, sweeping the Lakers, doing what you're supposed to do. Of course, another triple double for Jokic. Lots of firsts here for Denver. The first time reaching the NBA Finals after 94 playoff wins, which is the most by an NBA team prior to that, their first appearance. First team with the best record in its conference. It was one of 5, franchise to never do so. And also, too, they're their first playoff series at the sweep for them, which is the 44th playoff series. So, this is the first time they actually swept a playoff series. But it'll be interesting though, because we talked about the Colorado Avalanche. They won the Stanley Cup last year. Their lacrosse, the National League lacrosse squad, the Colorado Mammoth, they won the championship last year, and of course, Denver won their first hockey championship on the men's side. They won last winter. But yeah, I mean, as for all this, I mean, hopefully you'll get a little bit of respect, Coach Malone. I know he's been very miffed about the fact that his team's not getting any respect. Well, now you're in the finals. You're gonna get your respect. You're probably going to be the favorite. So I think, okay, you get a little bit of rest before you start playing again on Thursday.
Yeah, I guess Chris Mannix is echoing those same, I don't want to say the same sentiments, but he's on the opposite side. Talk about Denver's not interesting. People don't want to see them. And maybe that's true to a lesser extent, but excuse me, you have to give Denver their props, because Nikolai Jokic has been playing the MVP type ball for these last 3 years. I know he didn't get the MVP this year. We won't go through that silly debate. That's for a whole nother show, for a whole nother time. But Jokic got the conference finals MVP. Me personally, I think he should have went to Jamal Murray, but Jamal Murray is one of the best young scorers. And again, I've been advocating him for the last 4 or 5 years, going back to we did the show back in the studio. So Jamal Murray, I think, was another big difference as well. The reason why Denver are in the finals. But we talked about role players like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Aaron Gordon. I told you he needed to step up in Game 4. He did with 21 points, and also don't forget about Bruce Brown as well. And so those supporting castmates to help out Jokic and Murray, it really stepped up to the forefront in Game 4 as they came back from 50 points down to defeat the Lakers.
Yeah, that was a really solid performance, especially since they were down early. They were able to catch back up. So, give them a little bit of credit for doing that. Now, as far as the Lakers are concerned, I think they got a lot. Look, I mean, I know people want to go the whole LeBron debate. I know there are buddies at CHGO Bulls, they want to bring up, Jordan and such. Oh, well, Jordan was 6 for 6. Well, the ghost of Bill Russell may want to have a word with y'all on that one. That's a whole different topic, because I'm not going to be petty about, if you want to be petty about it, go ahead, but I'm not going to do it. So, but look, the fact that LeBron, got in the playoffs, they got this far at his age, at 30 years old. You can tell that he wasn't 100%. So I think, people need to give a little bit of credit to that. I know there's going to be some questions whether or not he's gonna retire and such. He kind of put out there. Of course, look, LeBron's not stupid. He's been doing this since he was 16. Like he's not dumb. Okay, he's gonna keep y'all, your mind on him. You're gonna keep saying his name even throughout the NBA Finals. So he's not gonna be involved in it. We'll see how the Rays are going to be. We'll see that next week. But yeah, I mean, people need to kind of just chill on that. As it became like bash LeBron night. I wasn't here for that, but look, I mean, AD, you think he could have done more? Sure. I mean, D'Lo, D'Angelo Russell was not, didn't have his best showing. Probably picked the worst time to have his worst showing in the playoffs and such. So Austin Reeves can give him a little bit of credit too. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, okay, they just didn't really have it. The Denver was just a better team in the end.
Here's a couple of things about the Lakers. One, LeBron James, from what I heard, he had a camera crew following around him for the playoffs. I guess he's making his own documentary that'll be out sometime in the future. So that's one of the reasons why he brought out the retirement angle. Me personally, I don't believe he's going to retire. He's going to play for at least the next 2 or 3 years, in my opinion, and probably wait till his son Bronny Jr. will come into the game, get drafted, come into the game. Will he play with them? That's a whole nother issue. Number 2, Anthony Davis. Lakina, call me crazy, but I don't blame him for it's the reason why that the Lakers didn't move on to the NBA Finals. If you study the history of LeBron James has had shooters on the roster going back to his Cleveland days. The first time, even the second time, he has shooters around him. He has shooters around him in Miami as well. The Lakers this offseason, they need shooters. And I was telling somebody this the other day. They need shooters, and all these national pundits talking about, they need to go get Kyrie. They need to get Kyrie. Okay, if you just get Kyrie, that's not going to solve your problems. LeBron needs shooters, especially at his stage of his career. And if you're going to keep Anthony Davis, fine. But me personally, I would start taking calls on who's interested in Anthony Davis, because remember, Lakina, from the All-Star break until what happened on Monday night. This is the longest that Anthony Davis has been healthy since the Lakers last won a championship 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the thing there. Yeah, and I think look, we just see what the Lakers do. I mean, like you said, they need more depth, they need more shooters and such. I mean, especially if I think if LeBron wants to try to win another championship, the offense can't go through him anymore. He's going to be 39 as when this halfway through the next season. So if I'm sure he is going to not going to retire, but he needs folks around him to kind of, well, is it Kyrie, is it whoever, but like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what they do over there on the Lakers side of things, because it's going to be they got a lot of questions to answer. They're going to need solid 6th, 7th, 8th guys off the bench, because some of them were good, but not others weren't that good either. So I think it is what it is with that. But yeah, it's gonna be to see what LeBron does. Like I said, LeBron will do his thing and such. He'll play. He may limit on how much he'll play, I think, because like I said, he's getting up there, so he might take a lot of games off next year. So we'll see.
He may need surgery on that foot this summer as well. So let's keep that in mind.
Right, so he might just, but yeah, congrats to Denver. They're going to the finals for the first time. We'll see what happens if the Heat and the Celtics join them. Hopefully, going through the schedule, real quick. It's simple. Tomorrow, you got tomorrow night on TNT. You got, of course, the Celtics and the Heat, the game 6 of that. And if the Celtics do win, you got game 7 coming up on Memorial Day. So it'll be interesting to see. Are we going to have a game 7?
I'm gonna say no. I think the Heat will wrap it up on Saturday in Game 6. I know some of you folks out there and definitely the high ups in the NBA want a Game 7, because if you don't have a Game 7, you're gonna have at least a 5-day layoff between now and next Thursday when the NBA Finals begin.
Yeah, so if you're Miami, you better try to win tonight. That's all. I mean, tomorrow night, I should say. That's all I have to say on that. So, yeah, I'm sure. I think they'll get it done tomorrow night. I think, there won't be a game 7. Sorry, folks. But, I don't think that's going to happen either. I don't think it's going to happen either. I just don't think it's happening. And that is your schedule for the NBA playoffs.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on the Memorial Day weekend edition. Sid Lakina hanging out here with you. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakina, as we always say, the NFL never seems to amaze us.
Let's get the hockey out. Let's do the hockey out the way first. We'll save the NFL stuff for Christine and Chris when they join us in a few minutes. But real quick, of course, the Florida Panthers are going back to the Stanley Cup Final, I should say, sweeping the Carolina Hurricanes. They just look.
Panthers. Yeah, sorry, your Hurricanes are done.
Yeah, they were just too much for Borowski. I mean, it was just too good. And Matthew Tkachuk, I mean, you gotta give him props. He had another game winner. Well, it did happen. It was about to be overtime, but he scored.
Great ending.
Yeah, another game winner with about 5 seconds left. With that, but they were just good, just enough to win that series. Sweeping them. And Paul Maurice, he's going back to the finals too for his first time 17 years since he was only 12 too at the time. I'm kidding. But what do you think about that series?
It came down to the trenches and to the basics, Lakina. We talked about Carolina being that no superstar team. They get it done in the trenches. They can score with the best of them, but they are a young and hungry defensive team. They just get it done battling you along the boards, and they do the little things right. But Florida Panthers, they just been on one of those runs, as we mentioned, throughout these playoffs. Sergei Grabowski, you saw what he did early in his career with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He had a couple other stops as well, but he's really found a home these last 2-3 years with the Florida Panthers. And as I asked you, and I asked our guy Greg Boyce of CHGO Blackhawks, does this year's Florida Panthers squad remind you of the 2012 LA Kings? Yes, they do. Grabowski had a couple of big saves last night. I know he gave up a bad goal, but on the most part, he's had a great series. He's had a great playoff run, and we'll see what happens in the Stanley Cup Final, whether it's Dallas or whether it's Vegas. And so, congratulations to the Florida Panthers. I know they went through some stuff the last couple of years, losing Joe Quenneville thanks to the Michael Beach situation, but they've recovered very nicely. And besides me bringing that up, are you hearing about Joe Quenneville's name? No. Are they
really.
whining about that situation? No. This organization kept it moving. They marched forward. Now they're in the final.
Yeah, you're happy for Matt Kachuk, who of course we know his dad Keith, didn't get a chance to play in as an Stanley Cup Final. Unfortunately, you feel. I know you saw how excited he got too. He was so happy. I'm sure that's sure him, his brother, who I think plays for Ottawa, and their mom. I think they're all celebrating. They've been celebrating the last couple of days. Of course, the Stahl brothers. I mean, they've been to the Stanley Cup Final a couple of times. Of course, losing a couple of times. So you're happy for those guys. And look, a lot of those veterans and such. I mean, look, they've got players. It's not like that these guys are not. Like they've got veteran guys. Of course, we've seen guys have played in the Cup, so they're going to have a little bit of experience going into. Going into a Stanley Cup Final. But yeah, I think look, if you can feel good for the Panthers and for their fans. I mean, the fact, like you said, the whole Quinville situation, a lot of people thought that maybe that would have been the end for them. Look, they made the playoffs last year, so it wasn't like they just, they were the number one seed. So like no one, it was like they came out of nowhere, but they were the last team to get in. And look, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, they're the sixth team in NHL history to sweep a best of 7 with all 1-goal wins. It's the second time, it's happened in the Conference or Cup Final. Also, too, if I can get this up here for a second. Okay, here it is. They become the third team in NHL history to eliminate 3 of the NHL's top 4 teams in the same postseason, joining the 1969 Canadiens and 1980 Islanders. I'm talking about Montreal also did it in each of its first 3 series. So, and both of them actually end up winning the cup. So, could be a little bit of good history repeating itself. We'll see what happens with that. So I mean, look, congrats to the Panthers. They're going back to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time like since 04, I want to say. So yeah.
90. I thought it was 96. Because remember 04 there was the Tampa Bay Lightning and Calgary Flames.
Oh, was it? Oh, wait, might have it. Well, okay, I'll check. But yeah, it's been a long time. I'll say that.
Yeah, those Rats against Colorado. Whew. Oh, that was a long time ago. I was still in high school, telling my age, but that's another story. Let's go to last night's game, Lakina, in the Western Conference Final. The Dallas Stars hold off elimination as they win Game 4 last night, 3-2 in overtime. Thanks to playoff veteran former San Jose Shark Joe Pavelski. He scored the game winner in overtime. Vegas had it right there, but they let it slip out of their sails. They had 2 penalties to Dallas's 1. Of course, the extra penalty that Vegas had that cost them last night. It was Pavelski's goal was a game winner on the power play in overtime. Lakina, we talked about this before. We thought that Dallas would be a little bit more competitive in terms of their scoring, but it's been Vegas's tempo that's really set the tone, in which got them out to a 3-0 series lead. But they are very much still control of this series. Now, I'm talking about Vegas. If they don't win it on tomorrow night in Game 5, I think this series could really get interesting real quick.
Yeah, Pavelski, you saw how happy he was after that game winner that he scored. And like you said, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, if you're Vegas, I think you had a couple of chances perhaps, in that series and in the game and in the series, you couldn't really do it. He becomes I'm talking about Pavelski first, the first star skater to score it overtime at home when facing elimination since Jamie Lagenbrunner did it in Game 5 in '98. I remember that conference final against Detroit. So I remember that conference final. So, that was interesting. That was a good final there, conference final there. But I think as far as Vegas, Vegas kind of, I know they let some things slip. I think they'll probably tell you that if you saw their comments afterwards, they really felt like they had a couple of chances to steal that win. They had a couple of chances. I guess in the first part of overtime, they actually had a couple chances to try to win that game and then win the series, but they just couldn't do it. And Pavelski, they had a late penalty about 3 minutes, under 3 minutes, into that overtime. Probably say how you want that should have been a penalty, but it is what it is. But Pavelski was able to take advantage of it just a couple of seconds into that power play, and now we're going into Game 5. So if you're Vegas, you had plenty of chance to try to put the game away, despite Jason Robertson's he had a couple of goals of to that, so help them kind of keep them in it. So to tie that, especially with about 2.5 minutes left. In the second period, not a lot of scoring in the third period, so it was actually went into overtime. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you're Vegas. I mean, you're going to be at home, so you'll be able to put kind of put the series away. So we'll see if they'll be able to do that.
We talk about all the time, Lakina, during the Stanley Cup playoffs that you win the games in the trenches. Scoring comes at a premium. Dallas did the little things, in my opinion, I thought that helped them last night. In the hits department, they're not a really very real physical team like Vegas is, but Dallas out hit Vegas 43-26, and I thought they had the edge there, being more physical, really trying to set the tone as far as the physicality part of the game. So Dallas gets a plus for me on that one. The shots on goal, Dallas 42-39, excuse me. So they had the edge in that. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that's really key. In the faceoffs, Dallas was a +4 at 28-24 in faceoff wins.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the key there, especially if you're Vegas, you try to kind of win this game and try to seal it for yeah. I think it's going to be interesting what they do, because if you're Vegas, you want to try to set the tone early and perhaps maybe get ahead in the game here, because we know they like fast starts, what the Vegas does. So like we'll see. It's going to be about finesse, I think. It's gonna be interesting to see like who can kind of get it going, because like stars like to slow it down and and kind of like play, kind of let the game come to them. So we'll just see if Vegas, you're Vegas, you want to try to get a quick start and try to kind of like set the tone early and perhaps maybe put the game away right away.
Don't forget, Game 5 is tomorrow night, Saturday. That's at 7:00 Chicago time, and that's going to be on ABC. So it's going to be on free TV for you folks. So and make sure to check that out. And should Dallas win, Game 6 will be Monday at 7:00 on ESPN. That's if Dallas wins tomorrow night. All right, Lakina, last break of the show, last break for the week for this long, before we get to enjoy this long weekend. Christine and our girl Christine, the Queen Manika, and her fiance, Mr. Chris Gilman, will join us next to give us everything in sports, entertainment, and more. Lakina, don't forget, we got to give a quick salute to the late, great Miss Tina Turner, who passed away earlier this week at the age of 83, the undisputed queen of rock and roll. And then we'll get into all the fun topics as well. As you're listening to the Memorial Day holiday weekend edition of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, I'm Sid. That's Lakina. Don't move a muscle.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school. This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. It is Memorial Day weekend holiday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid Deslakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidK80. Once again, at SidK80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keenan McNeil on the Twitter and I can't again on the IG.
And make sure if you have any last minute questions or comments, those fourth quarter comments, you want to get yours in right before the buzzer. We have less than a half hour left of this extravaganza we call the Sports Talk Radio Show. Don't forget, we will not be here on Monday because of the Memorial Day holiday. We'll be back next Friday at 12 noon Central Standard Time for Second City Sports. So Monday, we'll celebrate the holiday with you guys, so you won't be here. So, but if you have any questions or comments, go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube and type in those answers and questions in the comments section. Again, we'll get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid, we are ready. Two of our faves, coming on with us. She is the sports anchor for KXRB, and also too, he is a scratch golfer. He is the one, they are the one, the only, the fabulous Christine Manika and her husband Chris Gilly.
Yeah.
Hi. Hey guys,
what's up?
Happy Friday.
No problem. How are you guys?
Well, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weather's finally awesome out here, so just enjoying the sunshine.
I know you guys are gonna go bring that weather to us here too. We're gonna be getting some of that weather soon because this is still kind of cool here right now for our taste. Sid, so where do you want to go first with them, Sid?
Well, you didn't let me do this topic. You wanted to save it for Christine and Chris, and we'll do it right now. The NFL never seems to amaze us, as they like to keep their name in the news 12 months out of the year. And we found this out about an hour ago, Lakina, about almost an hour ago when we started that show. The Arizona Cardinals have released veteran wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, and now some people have him. Some people are saying that the Chicago Bears should take a look at DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not sure if GM Ryan Poles is going to go that route, but I'll ask you, Christine, should the Bears at least take a look at acquiring Hopkins' services?
He's 30 years old. I wouldn't give him a long contract if that's where the Bears want to go. I'd say a 2, maximum 3-year deal. If we still have the money for it, I'd say at least shoot our shot and see what happens.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm sure with such a sure-handed receiver like he is, I'm sure he's going to want to get his touches. He's going to want to get his money. The only thing I can see that would take the Bears out of it is uncertainty with Justin Fields and his ability to throw. But I think considering the amount of cap space the Bears still probably have, that I think it'd be a great veteran pickup.
Now, Adam should actually just posted something on a recent episode appearance on the I Am Athlete podcast, which is a great podcast. You guys definitely check it out wherever you get your podcast. He did list his 5 QBs that he most like to catch passes from: Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Herbert. So that's the Bills, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Chargers. So I'm thinking those are probably his 5. Go by what by that. Mm-hmm. Those are probably his 5 listed teams. What do you guys think? Who do you think is the best fit for him?
Gosh, go ahead.
Oh, that's a lot of different options and a lot of different teams too. I think I would go with the Chargers. And I would go with the Chargers because there's not that much, I don't want to say divas on their team, but they don't have, like a Travis Kelce, or they don't have a big name wide receiver to help their offense or to help bring in the fans. So I think that would be a good option, and there's not going to be any egos in the way too much with wide receivers with the Chargers. So that's why I would kind of go with them.
What about you, Chris?
I don't, honestly, the three of y'all know the NFL a lot better than I do, so I'm going to defer to everybody else here.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Pleading the fifth.
As I said, Lakina, the Bears should take a look at him because you can't have enough, cannot have enough weapons to surround Justin Fields. But realistically, I don't see the Bears taking a run at him. This team was brought up in my group chat on my phone about an hour ago. I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. The San Francisco 49ers. Definitely have about Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
Ha!
I definitely can see that.
If they want someone to balance Deebo out, then yeah, I could see it.
Who's
but
gonna
then
go
they
to
already got McCaffrey.
Right.
So,
and of
so
course
that's
you got
the other part of it.
they got George Kittle too. And who's gonna throw the ball to him though?
Right.
Seriously.
Still, yeah. You got both the QBs they got now are recovering from injury. So is it gonna be Lance? Is it gonna be Purdy? I mean, I wouldn't mind that, of course, that'll lighten the load up on Samuel, as you said, Christine. But yeah, I think if you're a Hopkins, he's gonna want to go someplace where he can win a title. And the 6 teams we mentioned, are pretty close. So I don't know. He'll have his options, but yeah, it's gonna be like maybe a 1-year deal with a lot of incentives, maybe an option for a 2nd-year deal. That's probably how they're gonna have to do it. But
I have a wild card team in this. The Dallas Cowboys, especially with the deal that Dak Prescott signed a couple of years ago. This could be potentially the last year on that deal. Hopefully they can be active and see if they can acquire Mr. Hopkinson's services.
Jeez. Look, the Cowboys they've been so up and down the last couple of seasons. I don't think if he's eyeing a championship, I think he wants consistency. He doesn't want to be on a roller coaster ride. He wants consistency.
I agree, Christine. Yeah, I think gonna want a stable place. And the other 6 teams we mentioned are a little bit more stable, even with the QB questions that they have in San Francisco right now. Even they're in a better place than Dallas is. So yeah. That might be us.
All right, let's move over to baseball. Christine, last night the White Sox took it on the chin 7-2 at Detroit, but they won their series. They swept the Kansas City Royals last weekend in Chicago. And they won 2 or 3 in Cleveland. Are you starting to see some signs that the White Sox can possibly come out of this, even though they're in a bad AL Central, or do you need to see more?
Good Lord, I hope so. It's very encouraging that Kopech, his last 2 outings, has had great games. I mean, he's been struggling for a little bit. So just to see him break out a little bit more, maybe he's starting to feel comfortable throwing. Maybe his arm's starting to feel better. Maybe his personal life is in a better place. So it could.
He talked about that last week.
Oh yeah. So it could be any of those factors, I think. But I'm happy so far. I'm gonna leave it at that because I don't want to toot my own horn with the team. Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, basically.
Yeah, smart. Yeah, I think that's a smart move, especially after what happened last night against Detroit. Chris, your Angels have been playing pretty well too, and the Angels and Sox are going to be facing each other next week. So, how do you like your Angels?
Boston.
That'll be great. Yeah, I'm just looking at theirs now. They won 5-6, sweeping the Red Sox at home, and I had no confidence in that whatsoever because but I mean, it's great to see. We will see. Just like Christine would talk about Chicago teams a couple of months ago, just wait until the All-Star break and see sort of what transpires there because, like I said, their hitting needs to be a little more timely. I think their defense is fine. It was hitting and it was bullpen. And so I know that through the grapevine, they're starting to call up a couple of different pitchers recently that they drafted the last couple of years. So hopefully that adds some actual firepower and depth to the bullpen. And, we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's a good mix of the young and the veterans out there.
All right, yeah, and the good news, I guess, for the White Sox, they don't have to worry about Ohtani pitching to them. So, yeah, I guess that's a good thing. They don't have to worry about that. Real quick, of course, we talked about the PGA Championship on Monday. What do you guys think about Brooks Koepka winning? And your guy, Victor Hovland, he was right there, Christine.
I know, but Bruce.
Right.
I have to laugh because both of my major predictions so far on the show turned out to be the complete opposite of what I thought it was going to be. Like I said, I said I think Koepka had an advantage over Rahm during the Masters. We all saw what happened there. Mm-hmm. And then I picked Scheffler because he's such a good front runner, and he had a terrible Saturday and shot himself out of it. And Brooks just outlasted them all. He played fantastic on Sunday. So I don't know how much you guys want to lean on my predictions anymore, at least for golf.
You're almost right. So yeah, so don't don't give up on yourself, just young man.
And Scheffler came back to finish third, so you were close. He actually bounced back, so you should.
But I was closer.
Right. That's 6. Yeah, that's
Sunday about it. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's 16th. Did Hovland, and I was cheering so hard for him because he's been so close the last couple of majors. But I'm sure he'll get one too. I'm sure of it.
He's figuring it out. So he's not going to be some crazy world beater that's going to light the world on fire. But he's so stinking good at golf, and his time will come for sure.
All right, you listen to the Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. Lakia hanging out here with you on your Memorial Day holiday weekend. Of course, we're joined by Christine, the Queen, Manika, and Chris Gilman. Guys, NBA playoffs. Chris, your Los Angeles Lakers were swept out of the playoffs against the Denver Nuggets. And of course, back in the East, the Miami's 3-0 series lead is now down to 3-2. Christine, I'll ask you, what do you think about the Miami Heat's chances? Do you think they'll wrap it up in Game 6, or will we see a Game 7, perhaps Boston becoming that first team in NBA history to win a series after trailing 3-0?
I literally made the joke to my co-host Andy, saying, you know what? Now that the Lakers are out of it, the NBA is probably telling the Celtics, cut your losses and just lose, because what we wanted is not happening anymore. So just pack up, go home. Let the Nuggets and the Heat take care of it.
Chris, what about you? I know are you licking your wounds for Lakers getting swept or no?
I am. Just to go off what I talked about with golf, I'm a terrible prognosticator. I can't predict a darn thing. So I said the Lakers would show up and win 2 games, and they would lose in 6, but clearly.
Oh, I said it was going to be a clean sweep.
Yeah, you called it. You totally called it. And I think, considering how LeBron played through most of the series, it just came out. I'm sure you guys may have talked about it earlier, but allegedly he had like a torn tendon in his foot, something like that. For the last couple months of the year, but I'm not putting excuses down. Denver is just better, and that's what it came down to. It. Christine was totally right, and they're deserved Western Conference champions.
Can I just say too about this whole LeBron's going to retire?
Yeah,
everyone needs to shut that down right now, because it's not happening. We're not going to do a whole Tom Brady, is he retiring, then forcing him to retire pretty much. And then he comes back out of retirement. My prediction is LeBron's going to keep playing until his son is in the league with him. That's my thought process of it. Once his son gets in the league, then he'll hang it up.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you guys that my next question. I was going to ask you guys about LeBron James and that retirement
it's garbage.
fiasco. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think so too. And then me and Lakina talked about this before we brought you guys on. Of course, the word around the league was that LeBron James had a camera crew following him throughout the playoffs, and so that's probably one of the reasons why he brought up that retirement thing at the end of Game 4. Plus, like you said, Lakina earlier, LeBron James likes to keep his name in the news, in the headlines, and so we all know that Denver, Boston, I think it's going to be an interesting NBA final, but most people, including yours truly, I'll admit, wanted the Lakers Celtics NBA finals. Of course, now we're not going to get that. So LeBron James likes to keep his name in people's heads and in the headlines.
Exactly why the NBA just told the Celtics to pack it up and go home. Don't bother trying.
Well, they haven't gotten that memo these last two games. I'm talking about the Celtics, so we'll see what they do in Game 6.
Yeah,
well, maybe they said try a little bit and then lose.
Right. Right.
Don't say that too loud. Shh.
Don't say that. Let's say it's scripted. It's all scripted, folks. Excuse me. Yeah, I almost took myself out there, but yeah. So the OTAs, go back to NFL for a second. The OTAs started right now. Of course, Aaron Rodgers got a little bit banged up. I think it was an ankle injury, Sid, or something like that. Of course,
everybody in New York City is freaking out.
Right. Right, and also to hear the Bears, Jalen Johnson actually did not participate in the OTAs, apparently, but organized team activities, it's not mandatory. I'm doing the air quotes here, but Chrissy, what do you think about that? Is there something like that Bears fans should be worried about with Jalen Johnson, or do you think he has a reason to hold out, or what? Could his lead to something bigger?
I mean, unless you were asking me about Aaron Rodgers, I'd say the guy is just being, a diva. And with Jalen Johnson, I wouldn't put a label on it. Maybe he legitimately had something going on. I mean, around this time when Tom Brady wasn't really making it to a lot of off-season practices and scheduled events, everyone was throwing out what's going on with Tom. And it turns out he was going through something pretty tough in his personal life. So I wouldn't put a label on it just yet and do any sort of speculation, and just, I don't know, kind of wait to see how it plays out.
Chris,
I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with Jalen Johnson, Lakina. Like I said, I'm not going to put the cart before the horse. Now, if he doesn't show up to the mandatory workouts, then we have a problem. But, the last couple of years, he hasn't been healthy, available to play full seasons. I want him to get healthy and then get ready for training camp in July. That's what I'm concerned about right now.
Yep.
Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. I think for a lot of those players that at the OTAs, and like I said, they're not mandatory. So you're like, okay, okay, yes, the guys miss you. He probably didn't want to practice. I guess talking about Aaron Rodgers, because that was the thing. Like the last couple of years, he was in Green Bay still. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like you guys said, I mean, I wouldn't be worried.
Yeah, my bet with that was his manager said, shave your beard, cut your hair, go to the mandatory and not mandatory practices.
Right. Exactly. All right. Sid?
Oh, yeah. We have some sports media nuggets to pass along to you guys as you're listening to Second City Sports or Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina hanging out here with you, along with our buddy Christine the Queen Manika and Chris Gilman. Of course, guys, going back to the staying with the NFL, the NFL are saying for Sunday Ticket, which will debut this fall on YouTube, they're saying that they will allow you, the viewer, to have unlimited simultaneous streams at home for the Sunday Ticket. And DirecTV has agreed to a deal with the NFL to distribute Sunday Ticket in bars and restaurants.
Yay.
Oh.
I know, right?
Yay! Yeah, because
more NFL all the time. You cannot beat it.
Yeah, no one's going to pay like
Exactly.
Yeah, they're not going to pay like $400 to, if you're not a YouTube customer, to watch. No, we're not. Just go to the bar and do it on Sunday Ticket, DirecTV. You're all good.
Yep. Chris, any thoughts?
Well, we talked about last week. Balkanization, trying to divide things up and make people pay a subscription for everything is it's not really the way forward. Technology will figure it out, and it'll be. People will figure out a way to make it free or a lot less expensive. So it's good that there was an agreement to do that within bars and restaurants, so more people can enjoy it without having to sit at home and pay $400 a year for that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, just the absurdity of it. Yeah, I don't think no one's gonna pay $400 if you're not a YouTube customer. To people will find a way to stream it. You got to go to the bar, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. With that,
Chris mentioned the word free.
Free. Don't put that out there. Just say want to keep it a little bit. A little bit.
Media training.
Right. There you go. There you go. You got it. Let me see here. I think there's a couple other ones, but yeah, as I'm trying to find it. So yeah, the other sports media nuggets.
I saw somewhere. I'm trying to find it right now. That ESPN has enjoyed their ratings as far as the NBA playoffs in a while. And we talked about the NBA Finals starting next week, possibly between Denver and Miami. I want to see how those numbers are going to be since LA, the Lakers are not going to be in it. Boston's not going to be in it. So I want to see how those ratings are. But so far through the conference finals, ESPN's ratings has been good. We know the national TV deal for the NBA is up in a couple of years. I know they're the only league that has not have a exclusive game streaming service yet. That's coming within the next couple of years once this national contract is up with them and Turner. So I want to see how the ESPN will try to be creative and especially during these finals, which your casual fans will now watch.
And that's unfortunate too. But I think the ratings will be okay for the finals, whether it's Miami or Boston. But yeah, it's going to be okay. I don't think it's going to be like the worst final ratings ever. No, I don't think it's going to be that bad. Chris Mannix, relax. But yeah, I think it'll get okay. I think I'm like Richard Deitch from The Athletic. Like, it won't be as big as it were last year, but I think maybe it'll be a couple of years ago. I think because we all know that ratings for that finals wasn't very good. So we'll see.
Yeah, I just got the final numbers in. The 2023 playoffs for ESPN has been is the most watched on its platforms in 11 years. According to Nielsen, through 31 games, the NBA playoffs on ESPN platforms have averaged 5.5 million viewers, up 9% from last year.
Not bad. You'll take those ratings. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, you'll take those ratings for ESPN. I know. I'm sure they wanted a longer series, but you'll take it if you're ESPN.
Yeah.
Okay, found it. Okay, Devin McCourty, of course, we all know his twin brother Jason's over at Good Morning Football on the NFL Network. Well, now he's going to be doing the primetime coverage for NBC Sunday Night Baseball. Yeah, so the McCourty twins are taking over the NFL media by storm. So what do you guys think? I know they have a podcast that's pretty popular, so of course it wouldn't be a stretch that these two were going to be doing their things with the pregame. Of course, with Jason doing his thing over at Good Morning Football, the NFL Network. But now, twin brother Devin is going to be doing the Football Night in America slot. So, pretty cool. So yeah, what do you guys think about this?
Twin power.
Yeah.
right.
Let's go.
Right, absolutely. There were a couple other news I wanted to guys get into, but yeah, you got anything else, Sid? A few other things before we disperse?
Oh, I wanted to ask Christine, our guys, I forgot who put it. I think it was at CHGO. Our guys at CHGO put it out early this week. Derrick Rose, of course, he has not played much for the New York Knicks this season. Of course, they got eliminated last round against the Miami Heat. I believe it's a free agent this summer. You can check up on that, Lakina.
Yes, he is.
We all know he's not the Derrick Rose he was when he first started. He's not even the 2015 Derrick Rose. He's not the Derrick Rose from 2 years ago when he helped lead the Knicks back to the playoffs when they didn't have a point guard. I'll ask you, Christine, do you think the Bulls should take a look at Derrick Rose?
I'm going to stop you right there.
No. Okay.
That's
next. Okay.
No, I knew exactly where you were going with that. No, he was great when he was with the Bulls. And let's leave it there. Just leave it there. It's a new team. It's a brand new coach, new front office. Leave it. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But should the Bulls eventually retire his number?
Yes, eventually.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I agree on that. Now, look, but I would say I wouldn't mind like entertaining the idea, especially if you can get it for like a low cost with a lot of incentives. He would be like the seventh guy off the bench. I mean, he wouldn't, starting. He wouldn't want to start him or whatnot, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think it'll be a nice little sort of like get back, a little full sort of mode. But that's just my opinion. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes. But yeah, it's unfortunate that that reunion with Tibbs didn't go very well. Like you said, so he didn't play much in that playoff series. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does there. You got anything else to say before we disperse?
Oh yes, we had to give our quick tribute to the undisputed queen of rock and roll. We're talking about Miss Tina Turner, who passed away earlier this week at the age of 83. She began her career with the late great Ike Turner's Kings of Rhythm in 1957. Of course, she went to do her solo thing at the end of the 70s. But Ike and Tina had the most formidable live acts in rock and roll history. They had such great hits as "It's Going to Work Out Fine," River Deep, Mountain High, Proud Mary, and Nutbush City Limits. Of course, in the 1980s when Tina Turner was solo, she had songs like Private Dancer, What's Love Got to Do With It, Better Be Good With Me, We Don't Need Another Hero for the movie Thunderdome, Typical Male, The Best, and I Don't Want to Fight, and Golden Eye, and Something Beautiful Remains from 1996. And during her Break Every Rule World Tour in 1988, she set a then Guinness World Record for the largest paying audience at 180,000 for a solo performer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And she received 12 Grammys, and she has sold over 100 million albums worldwide.
Wow.
Yeah, that's wild. My mom, we were talking, she saw Tina, maybe you guys remember this, in Rosemont in 2011, 2010, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she went with her brother, her sister, and then her brother-in-law, and they were on the catwalk of that show. And I'm like, geez, like you really like saw Tina Turner. And she had a flip phone at the time, so I made fun of her, and I just said, can you imagine all the pictures you could have taken if you had a regular phone instead of the flip phone?
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it's what a legend. There's nothing that you can say. I mean, she said it herself that she's done everything that she wanted to do, and now she's rocking out with everybody else up there.
And a pretty solid list too of musicians. So Chris, you got any Tina Turner memories?
No Tina Turner memories. The first song that comes up when I think of her is Proud Mary, because I think she kills it. And like there are other covers of that song, but there's just no combination of passion and, sheer force. When you listen to that, she puts everything into it. So I think that's great. I mean, she is and was a force, and rightly so. She's that popular. So
simply the best.
Yeah, seriously. So rest in peace. She was a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to piggyback off that. You see all the legends she worked with. Mick Jagger, Bryan Adams. I mean, I think the list goes on. And I saw they shared on the respective social media platform. They shared some memories and some of the performances that they did and such. Like you said, Christy, there's like a lot of folks up there. Of all the performances, I'm sure they're having a nice little concert after two now that Tina's joined them. So rest in peace too. And also too, going to the sporting aspect for a second. She was a big cult figure. She was sort of like the face of Australia rules football, which is like the rugby part of it. I know I know the league there has been, they're gonna play a pretty a big celebration with like over the weekend or maybe like next weekend. So she was a big, she was the kind of face of that league for a while. She kind of helped get the league back on its feet because that league was going to be kind of like done. So yeah, so now they're playing a big celebration in her honor. So I know there's going to be lots of dancing and singing going on all over the place. So so rest in peace to one of the all-time greats. And we're losing a lot of legends here. I'm not very happy. We're losing a lot of our greats.
Yeah, it's just one other quick nugget before we close out. Looking up about the late great Tina Turner. we paid tribute to the show a couple of times before, but remember Soul Train, especially during his first season, they started to get bigger acts on Lakina.
Yep.
One of the first big acts that came on through that show for the next season, in season 2, it was Stevie Wonder, and then that next episode was Ike and Tina Turner, and then everybody else from the Temptations, the Motown acts, and everybody else followed after that. So Tina Turner, I believe, along with Ike, appeared on that program at least 3 or 4 times during his heyday in the 70s.
Right. So yeah, and I'm sure those clips are on YouTube too, I'm sure.
Yes.
So yeah, so if you guys get a chance, check out the clips from there. And I believe she was on American Bandstand too, if I'm not mistaken, too, a couple of times. I think one of her first solo appearances was on Bandstand. So if you guys, check that out if you can, check out all those great clips and stuff. I'm sure they're all over the place now too. You can just find them. I'm sure they're getting a lot of play in the last couple of days. So yeah, so rest in peace to one of the all-time greats. I can not Ike, but the Ike died some years back. But Miss Tina Turner, like the goddess of rock and roll, I think they're calling her. So, and rightfully so.
Yes. Real quick, we'll end on something fun. Since this Memorial Day weekend, of course, we paid tribute to the soldiers, men and women who were sacrificed their lives for our country, for the United States of America. We can enjoy the freedoms that we have. Christine, I'll ask you guys before we head out. Do you guys do anything special for Memorial Day weekend? It's considered a barbecue holiday. Do you guys eat anything special? You just like everybody else, all the hot dogs and burgers you want?
I think we had our special dinner yesterday.
But yeah, it's funny because me growing up in California, we weren't done with school until like the first week of June, so it was just a day off for us. But thinking about it, yeah, definitely try and stuff my face with burgers and hot dogs. Big burger guy. So let's do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You gonna let him fire up the grill, Christine?
Oh yeah, he makes good burgers, great burgers.
Okay.
All right. Ooh, yummy.
We got enough in here to last.
I'm getting hungry. You just say that, Chris. Maybe you're making me hungry.
I know, right?
Come on over. We'll send you some.
Right. Well, look, there's nothing wrong with that. And on that note, on that yummy food note, Sid, call us out.
All right, you can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter and I can't McGee on the IG.
All right, Christine and Chris, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at @Manika_KXRB.
And you can follow me at Golfer Gilly, all one word, GOLFERGILLY.
All right, AQ, listen to the show anytime you want on War Media Podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Just type in War Media Podcast. You can check out our show and all the great shows that are on there. Everybody call me. We got a new logo and new everything else. So make sure you check.
All right, if you forgot to hit that
audio version.
Yep. If you forgot to hit that like button on the way in, make sure you hit the like button on the way out, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. And don't forget, we will not be here on Monday because of the Memorial Day holidays. And we'll be back with you guys next Friday starting at noon Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. As Lakina mentioned, please find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media PODCASTS. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And please follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. See, Lakina is muted, so it looks like she's getting ready to get some of that barbecue as well. All right, as she gets herself together, we'd like to remind you that you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. You know how to do this by now. If you have a Roku TV, just tap on that sports phone to download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, please, you have a handheld device laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, just go to the Google Play Store and download their Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that way. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. All right, since we're about to get up out of here, enjoy the holiday weekend. For Lakina, for Chris, for Christine, I'm Sid. You've been listening to Second City Sports or Sports Zone Chicago. We're off on Monday. We'll see you back here next Friday starting at noon Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Have a good one and go Sox. Holla!
Finally.